Oh, hold on. Mhm. Oh, I'm good to go. Am I live? I am live. All right. It appeared that I was not connected. Hold on. I think I'm live on YouTube. Do. Am I live on Facebook? That I am. And here we go. All right. Here we go. Hello. Hi. TinaO here from TinaO Life from 50 Nights from last year. Tonight begins 25 nights until the end of my 50th year. Many of you last year tuned in to something that I called Voices from the Stones 50 Nights with Tina O. And it was a series of stories every night. You would tune in with me at about 6:30, except for the nights that I was, behind schedule, which is often my way. I mean, what is it now? 6:36. Yeah, so I'm 6 minutes behind, kind of on Tina O time. And many of you tuned in with me, 100 of you actually, to be precise, maybe 102, 103, I don't know, subscribed to receive 50 nights of stories with me. And many of you, over half of you, tuned in nightly because I can see the open rate. That's the thing about our digital tracking now. I can see what's going on. And it was a big thing. It was a big thing. And so I thank you for joining me, for walking with me last December. And tonight I had to make a decision. I didn't have to. I guess that's part of what this conversation might be a little bit about, is that the truth is none of us have to do anything. But I just knew I had to. Like I could have let it go. And so what's that about? So last year was the big push, right? It was like, I'm turning 50. And what am I going to do? And I knew last year, like, when you know, and I don't know how you know, but I just get like this whirlpool of a motion of yes inside of me that doesn't have words on it yet. But I can feel that whirlpool like it's keeping me up at night. And my job is to just fucking just surrender and listen, not pay attention to what anybody else is saying, any other words other people have for it, and just wait until something shows up and the yes, that whirlpool thing here lands on a word. And so last year I knew that to celebrate 50, I needed to write a show. I had all kinds of stories about why I was doing that, and they were all accurate, for sure. But just as anything that you say yes to, the real yes happens like 6 layers deep. It's not the first yes. The first yes is the yes of the impulse, the edge of change. And then when you commit to the yes, then you do it. And then after you do it, then there's all the other yeses that happen after that. I guess that's what I'm coming here to talk to you about tonight. So last year, you hung out with me for 50 nights, listened to me talk about the show I was creating, listened to me share pieces from the book that I'm writing and still am writing, and listened to sermons that I had written, all to point to this moment in time called 50. And then 50 happened. And then with that, remember I said the yes that I knew I had to write a show, I knew I had to do this 50 thing. Then 50 happened. And it happened in 6 months. In 6 months' time, all the things that I said yes to came into form. I did a show. I was immersed in my book. all the things. And so then the remaining 6 months was like, "All right, Overbury, who are you now? Why'd you do all that? What's that all about? And who cares?" And that's my edge. My edge is who cares? Like who cares? Which of course isn't about you. It's about me. So I'm going to close my 50th year in 25 nights, which I thought was just kind of kooky. Like December 1st on my birthday's Christmas Day. For those of you who don't know or forgot, my birthday's Christmas Day, which is in 25 days, happens to be on the 25th. And I don't know if you did the champagne birthday, which is, the 25th. What is it? Your 25th birthday on the 25th day? Like, I totally did not know that, but like, I don't know. Did you know that? I didn't know that. So I missed my champagne birthday. So screw that. I'm going to have my champagne birthday now, just a little bit different. I have 25 days until the 25th, which you add those two 25s up. And what do you get? 50. Ding, 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 ding. Boo, pop the cork. There's my champagne. So I'm going to have my champagne birthday and I'm going to come to you for the next 25 days doing it the way I do it. I'm going to talk to you about the things that I care about because who cares? Well, I guess that's for me. What do I care about? And what did these 50 nights and what did this 50th year show me about the things that I care about? Tonight, I'll tell you a little story about a news story that is shaping the next year of my life. Year, probably not. The next first step of my life and happened in my show, but it wasn't about my show. The show just happened to be the carrier of the thing. So I was watching the news and this story came on about Tuam, County Galway. And it just caught my attention. And if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the show, don't worry about it. I'll pop the link in here. You can watch it. Um, I have no relationship to this at all. So says my brain. So Tuam, County Galway is in Ireland. And the news story was about 796 children that were buried outside a mother and baby home. And I happened to catch the the story that was after the story, which means the bodies had been found a number of years before, had been named, had been, noticed, named, declared, the whole bit. But the reconciliation part of that hadn't happened yet. And frankly, it still, from my lens, has not happened. And I want you to know that all of this happened before the 215 Indigenous children were found outside of a Kamloops residential school. So that puzzle piece had not come into place yet. All that happened is I was just sitting in front of my fire, which is what I do. I put on the news, which is what I do. Put on the CBC, which is always what I do. I love the National. And this Tuam, County Galway piece comes up. And I just knew, again, as I mentioned at the top of this call, in that whirlpool of yes inside of me, that meant something big for me. And then it ended up in my show. And this character, who of course is me in the show, says, and I'm going to Ireland. And I don't know why. And I still don't know why, but I know why. I just don't have words for it. I watched another piece on Tuam, County Galway. I watched the piece where the reconciliation thing happens in Parliament and how he totally freaking blew it. Like it was disastrous. Again, from my lens, I watch the politician, whatever the hell his name is, I don't know, get up and read this speech. And in this speech, he was like, are you even there? Like, come on. Like, how the hell can we talk about this shit and like not be there, but just read the fucking words on the page? And that got me all fired up. And then I kept digging even more, and I read this other piece in the New York Times, which was I thought was an awesome piece. It felt so full. It felt like it had all of the layers in it that were supposed to have it was supposed to have in it. It had done all the research. It had all the things, and I felt like, okay, finally this story is full. As my writing partner Mary Beth, always does, is ask the hard questions. Did they ask the hard questions? Did they go to all the places? And I thought, okay, here's the story. And I ended up using that news story a lot in my research, which then, of course, ended up in the show. Two more pieces to this story. The fifth draft of Oh My God didn't even have that in it. Didn't have the Tuam County Galway thing in it at all. And I'd been working on it with Dean Paul Gibson and dramaturg, and bestie, Nicole Natras, and Papa, as I know him to be, because we went to theater school together. And I was Mother in theater school, by the way. If you ever seen the show Becoming Memories, there's that scene where I don't know who he is, but one of the characters, yells, "Mother!" And I would come running. Not that I was that character. I actually ran the box office, but I was Mother. Anyway, I digress. So I'm Dean Paul Gibson is working on the show with me. And we've done the read of the fifth draft, and we're sitting around this little table, and he just does what he does, right? He just looks at me and he goes, Mother, what's with all this? What's all the baby and mother stuff? I'm like, what? What do you mean, baby and mother stuff? He says, well, you've got all this mother stuff in your show. I'm like, I do? He's like, well, yeah. And I don't know. I don't know. And then I just sat, and he did what he did, which is just hold the pause. I said, well, I did see this news story about Tuam County Galway. And, I was adopted, and that happened outside a mother and baby home. And then all of these pieces that I didn't know were there did what they do, as my friend Christina Benty says, at the climax of a great story, the puzzle pieces that have been all on the table, they flip over. And in that moment, you know where they're supposed to go. And I can't say that I knew where they're supposed to go, but the puzzle pieces flipped over. So I went home, and that weekend I wrote the next draft. And in that, there's the scene in the church with the woman who'd lost a baby, and then the Tuam County Galway piece, which is what the whole show now hinges on. So I'm going to take you to another hinging moment. Why am I going to Ireland? I don't know, but I do. So the night before we were going to screen the show, May 27th was the night we were going to screen the show, and we did. But the night before, on May 26th, the remains of 215 Indigenous children were found outside the residential school in Kamloops. And I felt like I couldn't do the show, that I couldn't put it up, I couldn't screen it, because who was I, as a white, privileged Canadian woman who might have Irish heritage, thinks she does, been told she does, but I don't know, telling this story about 796 children buried outside a mother and baby home in another country, while in my home country, the Indigenous people from here are finding their dead children buried outside residential schools. And in the show that I wrote, I literally laid those two stories side by side without knowing there were children buried outside in Canada, outside of residential schools. And I thought, I can't tell this story. I can't do this. I have no fucking right to do this. And then I got super fearful, probably probably rightfully so. And I had to make a decision. I called a few of my wisdom keepers. I called Charlene Sanjenko, our braid from Powerhouse. I called Christina Benti. I called Nicole. I called Papa. I called James. And I said, what do I do? Can I do this? And in that, I don't know. I was going to say something profound. Like in that moment, it all made sense. It didn't make sense. Just sounded good on my tongue. Um, but I did know I had to do it. I can say that. Again, I didn't have words for it. I didn't have an explanation for it. I didn't know what I was going to say when we screened it. But what I did know is that I don't trust you and I don't trust me. And I don't trust the words on the page said by others or even me. But what I do trust more than anything else is that I trust the story. And now that story was telling me what to show up for. You couldn't have planned it. Like, you couldn't have planned that the night before the screening, this would happen. It was the most inappropriate thing that I could do, and maybe not. But I could not see that they lined up together. And so we screened it, and we acknowledged the 215 children. And then I wrote a piece that goes in front of it now. So if you watch it, if you haven't seen it, there's a piece that I put in there to introduce it. And so when I asked you earlier, or what I asked myself, I guess, earlier, why? Like, who cares? Who cares? Why am I here? Why am I showing up on social media talking about turning 50? Like, give me a frickin' break. Like, a zillion other people haven't turned 50 before. Because it's not about turning 50. 50 is just the catalyst of yes. That's all. It's just the catalyst that said, so you're going to show up. And I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to Ireland in March for the equinox, March 21st. And I'm going to go to Tuam, and I'm going to meet some of the people there. And I remember I talked about the New York Times article. Remember how I said I thought it was like the article? I ended up talking to Anna Corrigan, who has a brother buried outside of the Bon Secours mother and baby home. And I asked her, is this the right article for me to be using? And she said, no, it doesn't tell the whole story. I think I share that with you around the word care. As an artist, we need to take care. We need to take care of the stories that we're telling. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of each other. And we need to be honest, and we need to be transparent, and we need to be ourselves, just ourselves here. So in my 25 nights to close 50, tonight's night that I didn't know what it was about, I think tonight's night is about caring enough just to bring yourself here. And caring enough, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. I want to say caring enough, something about time, like caring enough to show up in the time that you're in. Show up in the time that you're in, not in yesterday's time or tomorrow's time. Show up in the time you're in and care. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks for listening to my story tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night. I have no idea what tomorrow will bring. I want you to know I'm going to Ireland March, I don't know, March something. And beginning January 31st, I'll be launching another 50 nights of storytelling with TinaO, and they're recorded. They're not live like this. And if you'd like to jump in on that and receive those 50 stories, which will be following me to Ireland, the 50th night happening in Ireland on the spring equinox, then please do. And thanks for being here. And as always, thank you for listening. And thank you for the story of you and listening to the story of me. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. 25 nights to close 50, which means 51. But you know I'm cute. All right, I'll see you then.